What if the enemy you refuse to drive out today becomes the cycle your children have to fight tomorrow? Today, I want to tell you 3 things that happen when you only halfway drive out your enemies. Hi, friends. How do you know what the Old Testament really means? In this series, I am showing you how the Old and New Covenants fit together like a divine puzzle, each piece showing Jesus, his character, and his covenant with us. Today, we're looking at Judges chapters 1 and 2 and Psalm 11. In Judges 1, verse 1, 4, and 19, it says, "After the death of Joshua, the Israelites asked the Lord, which tribe should go first to attack the Canaanites? When the men of Judah attacked, the Lord gave them victory over the Canaanites and Perizzites, and they killed 10,000 enemy warriors at the town of Bezek. The Lord was with the people of Judah, and they took possession of the hill country. But they failed to drive out the people living in the plains who had iron chariots." The first thing that happens when you halfway drive out your enemies is that compromise gets comfortable. After Joshua died, there was no new leader appointed, but the people had firm instructions from the Lord, which they had committed very strongly to follow. And they started out well, asking the Lord about continuing their conquest. Israel stayed on God's path for a short time. They asked God for a strategy about what the next battle should be against the Canaanites. When I read that, I felt so proud of them. For a moment, it feels like the people of God are really going to follow God this time. When I read about what they did to the king, I thought, always ask God for strategy, because you never know when it will be a prophetic message against your enemy. However, they did not fully obey the Lord, even though he continued to be with them and he continued to give them victory. This resulted in the second thing that happens when we fail to fully drive out the enemy. The next generation forgets. I kept reading and was so saddened to discover how short-lived their seeking God turned out to be. The rest of chapter 1 describes the failure of each tribe to completely destroy or drive out their enemies, and how that turned into a cycle of failure for the generations after them. These failures resulted in the unfortunate events recorded in the book of Judges. They could have saved themselves a lot of trouble and tremendous amount of suffering by completely following the Lord's instructions. After giving a recount of some tribes who did not drive out all the enemies in their portion, I realized this is emphasizing why they turned away from the Lord. This put them in the third consequence of driving out your enemy. Cycles begin that God never intended you to live in. Some of their battles were litmus tests, ones to which they had frequently been given the answer to see if they would follow God. It is very difficult to follow God when you've allowed people who serve false gods to live in your territory. It takes real determined effort to keep your heart pure when all these evils are pulling on it. Friends, meet God all the way. Don't make a halfway commitment. Don't just do a half job and be satisfied with that. God has so much more for you. The link is in Psalm 119:34. "Give me understanding, and I shall keep your law. Indeed, I shall observe it with my whole heart." In Judges chapter 2, it says, "After Joshua sent the people away, each of the tribes left to take possession of the land allotted to them. And the Israelites served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and the leaders who outlived him, those who had seen all the great works that the Lord had done for Israel." After that generation died, another generation grew up who did not acknowledge the Lord or remember the mighty things he had done for Israel. In the Old Testament, legacy was extremely important. The most essential thing for a man to have was a son to pass down his inheritance to. For a man to die without a son was considered a great tragedy. Spiritual sons are equally important because leadership needs succession. This dynamic is seen in the relationship between Moses and Joshua, Elijah and Elisha, David and Solomon, and Paul and Timothy, among many others. When the father had a son to pass down the ministry to, the congregation remained strong. But when the legacy stopped continuing, things fell apart quickly. Leadership succession does not happen automatically. It takes effort on the part of the leader and the successor to make the training, the impartation, and the passing of the mantle happen. Chapter 2 further gives us the tragic summary of what we are about to find in the rest of the book. God's people are continually unfaithful to him, while God is continually faithful to them. What a God! The link is in Hebrews 13:7. Remember your leaders who taught you the word of God. Think of all the good that has come from their lives and follow their example in the faith. Psalm 11:3-7 says, "The foundations of law and order have collapsed. What can the righteous do? But the Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord still rules from heaven. He watches everyone closely, examining every person on earth. The Lord examines both the righteous and the wicked. He hates those who love violence. He will rain down blazing coals and burning sulfur on the wicked, punishing them with scorching winds. For the righteous Lord loves justice. The virtuous will see his face." Too many days, today included, it seems like law and order have collapsed and righteousness is nowhere to be found. It's like the book of Judges in a never-ending cycle. But it's not true. God does have his eye on everything. He is taking note. God has rule over the earth. We realize that right now his rule is through believers. We have the commission and the authority to bind these evils and loose the commodities of the kingdom realm. In order for our rule to work effectively, we must be humble and submitted to God. Then we resist the devil, and then he must flee. Let's take this moment to make sure we are aligned properly under the lordship of Jesus, being willing and obedient to his word. Then we will see our use of authority working. The link is Matthew 18. "I tell you the truth, whatever you forbid on earth will be forbidden in heaven, and whatever you permit on earth will also be permitted in heaven. I tell you this, if two of you agree on earth concerning anything you ask, my Father in heaven will do it for you." That's all for today. I placed additional scriptures in the description of this video if you want to go deeper. Until next time, I'm praying that the Spirit of God opens your eyes to the beauty of his covenant with you and the freedom it brings. Have a blessed week.